Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Good old boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough love for my cup. Trying only to look up, even as a baby I knew what's up. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Good old boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough love for my cup. Trying only to look up, even as a baby I knew what's up. Ran away for college, trying to obtain that knowledge. For a baby boy Thomas to know himself as flawless. I was growing up in bondage to a redneck mind unpolished. Locked it up like a hostage, cause I was constantly admonished by my family, by my friends. I'm the weird kid yet again, piss me off and I demolish you. Nothing but the honest truth, it will just astonish you. Put you in a lock or two, only keep a couple few people close to me, but who? That is for me, not you, but please know that I love you too. Keep you in my heart and mind, and I will always root for you. Succeed and love your life, even get a husband, wife. Just here to make art for the soul, express my strife. But if I find a goddess, then I gotta be honest. I'll give her my entire heart, no need for being modest. All these thoughts driving through this town, it's honestly ironic. When I left at 18, said I'm never coming back, I promise. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Ghetto boy was treated shitty, running, crying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things and change were wow. Post-storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Ghetto boy was treated shitty, running, crying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things and change were wow. Post-storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Panama City politicians always clown. After Hurricane Michael, they left us all to drown. 5 million stole from FEMA, yeah, they thought they'd get a crown. Good old boy syndrome is the only party in this town. Kick them out of office, tear the entire system down. Charge $500 a month with wires, lay up on the fracking ground. No power, no phone, but we're paying for it anyway. Set they ass on fire, profits over people is the way. Burn them all down, take our money back, let them pray. Feed them to the fishes and the sharks up in the bay. Take this fight national, those phonies always stray from doing what the people want. They just look to prey on our fears and feed us lies through propaganda every day. Set us against each other so that we just fray and weaken our defenses. Yes, this is their play, so vote them out of office and please don't forget to spay.
This is Thomas Teretic reminding you to please spay and neuter your politicians by voting them out of office and petitioning for term limits in the Senate and Congress. God bless America.
I already messed up. Welcome, everyone, to episode 23 of Lights, Thunder, Action. Joining me today, you're not Thomas. Who the heck are you? This
never be Thomas. There should never be a mistake like that made, man.
I mean, it's already a complete disaster without Thomas. Thomas, where are you? We need you. Thomas will be joining us actually later. We will be reviewing Tenet today. That is the big thing going on today. Kevin, joined today by Kevin Boodoosingh. This is my special guest co-host. Kevin, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Hello, and thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So just going over what today's show is going to be about. No trilogy of trilogies, no interview or anything like that. Kind of just a standard show we're up to today. What the news? Plenty of news regarding a new trailer from James Bond, No Time to Die. Mm-hmm. Mission Impossible 7 has started shooting. There's more drama with the whole Ray Fisher and DC fiasco happening. And the Batman may have gotten COVID-19. So all that's soon to come. And then at the end, we'll be reviewing the new Christopher Nolan's new movie, Tenet. Kevin, you just saw the film today.
Yes, couple, maybe an hour or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So
literally just saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. Very fresh in your head for sure.
Correct.
So yeah, we got a big show today. What we will also be doing. So at the beginning of our Tenet review, I'll say this again later, but we're going to do it spoiler free at the beginning. Thomas will be joining us. He's from Texas on his phone. He'll be Skyping in for the Tenet review, and we're going to do it. I don't know how long he'll be in there, but for the show, we're going to do it spoiler free and then hop into spoilers, because if you've seen Tenet, you really want to talk about what the actual film's about, and it's hard to get to kind of really go around to not spoil it. So anyway, today we are streaming to you live, of course, from the HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube and here on the Lights Thunder Action page on Facebook. If you guys haven't already, please go over and follow us. We have a new Instagram at Lights Thunder Action. We have a new YouTube channel at Lights Thunder Action as well. Also, we're on LTA Podcasting on Twitter and, of course, here on Facebook. So go follow us there. We're planning on posting a lot more on social media. We're going to do these things called Lights Thunder Action clips. We've already started, where we're going to take little portions out of our weekly episodes, bite-sized pieces, put them out on social media on all of those channels, and hopefully every day of every weekday. So you guys can see just kind of the highlights of Lights Thunder Action. And so you'll be seeing plenty more of Kevin throughout the week. So you're all excited for that. Also, guys, if you can't catch our live show, but you still want to listen to the whole thing, you can check out our audio podcast, which is our full weekly shows on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and our hosting site, Spreaker. So there's a lot going on. We got our audio podcast. We're going to be introducing a lot more clips. Check out our YouTube at Lights Thunder Action. Follow us everywhere. We're working on maybe some new things when it comes to streaming, so look out for that. Right now, still going where we are. Wow, this is a lot more difficult when I don't have when Thomas isn't here. But Kevin, I really appreciate you being here. I think this is going to be fun. We haven't been in a podcast here in a while. It isn't our first time. You guys should go back in the archives and find. It's a A-list. What do we call the podcast?
A-lister movie reviews.
A-lister movie reviews. There should be some still up, live, and then random thoughts is
random thoughts.
Google random.
But I just gotta say, thank you, and I will thank Thomas when he hops on when he does. But thank you for having me on. I'm very honored, and I'm happy to be back talking with you, man. I miss this.
Yeah, I know, right? It's fun. You are a regular who likes Thunder Action. And
of course. Yeah, of course. I don't miss a show. So
yes, we appreciate that. And now you can't miss this one. You can't even if you tried. So yeah, anywho. Last thing for housekeeping wise, kind of blew through everything pretty quick. Thomas normally can slow me down a bit, but with it just me, I just fly through. Tournament of Trilogies, we're working on that. The polls are still being a pain in the butt. So we're not sure exactly when we'll be having the next Tournament of Trilogies. It is coming. We are staying a bit fluid now with our schedule, working on more interviews to come. Obviously, we've gotten a lot of good feedback from our recent ones. And then we're also thinking about reviewing, today we're reviewing Tenet, not an old trilogy of trilogies movies. With stuff actually coming out now, we might be transitioning over to reviewing more relevant things, possibly The Boys, possibly No Time to Die later. Wonder Woman in October is supposed to still be coming out. So there's still a lot coming up down the pike that's, fun, fresh, not an old trilogy that we've been doing. So exciting times. And let's get to everybody's favorite segment. Kevin, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
What the news?
All right. What the news this week? Let's start off today with the No Time to Die trailer. So the James Bond film, it's coming out in November now. I forget when it was initially supposed to come out, but obviously it was delayed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a sequel to the Daniel Craig, Skyfall, 007 kind of whatever universe they've been building over there. Kevin, you saw this trailer. I think they call it the official trailer. I don't know, trailer 2.
No, I think it's trailer 2.
Trailer 2.
Yeah. It's close to trailer 1 with a little more stuff sprinkled in it.
Yeah.
So
Kevin, what were your thoughts on this trailer? It's like a 2.5 minutes. It's kind of a trailer.
My initial thought was, okay, this is too much stuff. I don't want to see all this stuff, But of course, the trailer just shows how great this movie is going to look, cinematography wise, all the action. It just puts you in the perspective of how this movie is going to be.
Yeah.
But I just like my initial thought was, okay, this might be a little too much stuff that I'm seeing right now.
Yeah. It's funny you say that about the cinematography. That stuck out to me. It's the story I hardly care about really in this movie. It's like, how cool is it going to look? How's the action going to be? How badass is Daniel Craig going to be? And that's about it.
I'll tell you what, man, like for me, when it comes to like James Bond, I'm a big car enthusiast. So movies like all the James Bond movies, they're focused on the cars and the action. I'm all for it. And this new movie, I mean, I'm a big fan of Land Rover, and they're showcasing their new Defender in it. So I'm all for it. I'm ready.
Yeah. I will say the trailer didn't do that much for me. I mean, it's fun getting new trailers now. I wonder if we'll get another Black Widow trailer, because that movie's going to come out in November and we already have a final trailer.
Yeah, that trailer for Black Widow was pretty packed.
Yeah, they can't really show too much. Yeah, right. They could maybe just re-release that. I imagine they'll probably just start pushing stuff out actually on like television ads and things like that, pump up the marketing money. And we're seeing that right now, obviously, with James Bond. They're trying to actually...
Well, let me ask you, so in terms of Daniel Craig and James Bond, what do you think about the trailer? It gives you a perspective of what this movie is going to be about. And this is his last 007, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, it's hard to... that may have been a comment that happened, like where they said, hey, it's gonna be the last one. You never really know. Money always talks, it seems like, in this industry, and just in these movies, especially these big blockbuster action movies like this will be. I will say one thing, this is a complete aside, but watching Tenet and seeing the Tenet numbers roll through, I think it's gonna be hitting 100 million internationally soon. You wonder what the blockbuster movie is these days in this next 6 months. You know what I mean? Like, how do you gauge? And I wonder if we're going to get any numbers on the Mulan release on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah.
And what's interesting about Mulan that I didn't realize is that I thought it was going to actually be in theaters as well. I thought it was going to be $30 on Disney Plus and then in theaters.
No, it
said select theaters
to Disney Plus, I think.
Yeah, but it's hardly. It's basically exclusive on Disney Plus. So it's very select theaters essentially. So I just wonder. This is proof that they're not moving 007. They're not moving No Time to Die. There's speculation that Wonder Woman can move off October, even though they just released the trailer during DC Fandom. I just don't know. I don't know if
you don't know. I mean, we're going to talk about this soon, but we don't know. I mean, Batman just got the coronavirus. We don't know when that movie is going to come out, so it's difficult for them to put it like a timestamp on like exactly when it's going to come out. We just hope for the best.
And I think the thing is it really? I mean, Warner Brothers is kind of the guinea pig here. Is it really worth releasing your film during this, or just saying we're punting until 2021, 2022? You know what I mean? Is it really going to be worth it? Like, I feel like it's just a lack of patience right now. There's no. I don't see where them putting it out right now is going to make as much money as they would if they did it in a year. I just don't think they're being patient with it. Do they need money right now? Is that the problem? Are they looking to, make, they put so much money into a film like a Tenet or a James Bond or a Wonder Woman or a Black Widow that they don't want to. And it's not like in Black Widow's case where the MCU is a domino effect and one film affects the next, affects the next.
No. Black Widow, it's. I mean, it can be counted as a separate thing, so it'll be.
It's just curious to see, especially with James Bond now, that they're going for it. They're putting marketing money back into it. And I wonder what the expectations are. And I don't know. I'll go see it. Of course, the trailer, I didn't have to see the trailer to just go see it. Cause right now I'm so just hungry for, films in the theater.
Right. And especially James Bond. Yeah. I mean, without the trailer, we still going to go see it.
Of course. And I will say my favorite, just wrapping up on James Bond real quick, the trailer itself, my favorite part was seeing Rami Malek as the villain. He looks awesome as the villain.
Awesome. Yeah.
Story-wise, that's what I'm interested in. I hope he's not like a flat villain who hardly has any story. He seems very interesting. I really like his I don't know, he seems like a wicked kind of like character where he just has that he's not physically menacing, but he just seems evil. And I think that's some of the scariest villains in movies. And it's funny after seeing him in a movie like Bohemian Rhapsody, where he's,
seeing him in this now. Yeah.
I like it though. I really like it. I think
I agree. I mean, I hope he does a good job. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on today. The Ray Fisher drama, as I wrote, happening over at DC. So, Hollywood Reporter came out with a updated article saying that Warner Brothers says Ray Fisher is not cooperating with the Justice League misconduct investigation. So, essentially, it's what's been happening. For everyone who doesn't know, is that Ray Fisher basically he spoke out against what Joss Whedon and John Berg, and basically said, I don't know, he kind of just threw him under the bus for being essentially not good people, I guess.
Their behavior while filming,
he alleged them of misconduct, right. And it's Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns and John Berg during the filming of Joss Whedon. So what's also interesting is that he said that Walter Hamada, which is the top executive of DC Films, here's the quote. After speaking out about Justice League, I received a phone call from the president of DC Films, Hamada. This is Fisher writing, by the way, Ray Fisher. He played Cyborg in Justice League, wherein he attempted to throw Joss Whedon and John Berg under the bus in hopes that I would relent on Jeff Johns, which is interesting. He was just trying to defend Jeff Johns, I guess. So that's his quote. We don't know the truth. That's just what Ray Fisher said. And now, so that happened. That's happened. But now kind of the new news is that Fisher has declined to speak with the investigator that Warner Brothers and DC are like sending to him. So essentially what I'm gathering is that Ray Fisher has been, he said what he said. He spoke out about the producers and Joss Whedon, and now he's not cooperating. Now
But not to interject, but he also prefaced that he wanted to have a say in who the investigator is going to be.
Right.
Because he's concerned of biases with the investigator. Basically, from what I understand, is he said that, when these big companies hire an investigator, they're being paid. So obviously they're going to be leaning to one side. So he wanted to be in that process of, vetting that investigator.
And they also spoke out against that. Like, this is from Warner Brothers, a spokesperson from Warner Brothers. There's a long quote here on the Hollywood Reporter article, but it also talks about how they defend Hamada's quote. Like they defend Hamada. He didn't throw anyone under the bus. They say that. And we get a little bit more of news that Cyborg is supposed to actually appear in the upcoming Flash film, which just keeps adding and adding to who's going to be in that movie. So that's exciting. But is he really going to be in a Flash movie when there's this whole big scandal? I mean, he brought it upon himself. Like he's the one that brought this to the light. Is he wrong for that? No. But this isn't really going smoothly, I guess. So I guess, Kevin, you read this article, you saw the news. What were your overall thoughts on the situation?
Well, it's hard to judge a situation. He came out saying that he didn't like the behavior of them on set, and he's speaking out against that, and he's well within his rights to do that, and also they're well within their rights to defend themselves.
Yes, exactly.
It's a situation that is developing, and I'm looking forward to see the outcome of it. But I do understand his perspective for wanting to see who the investigator is going to be. I understand where he's coming from that.
You wonder. I don't know. You wonder what an investigation of this would be like. I think, and it's interesting to me that only we've really heard Ray Fisher talk. This misconduct is going way farther than, hey, they were a bad director. You know what I mean? It's taking it one step too far. A lot of people, it seemed like, that worked on Justice League wanted to have Zack Snyder there and didn't think the movie was going in the right direction. But no one else has really come out and said they treated us poorly, essentially. That we were not being treated fairly, and that it was a toxic set. So it's a bold claim, really, especially in
right. So what weight does this allegation hold? You know, that's what we find out.
And you're gonna drag a lot of people into. I mean, you might drag a lot of people into light while you're doing this. I mean, this investigation. They're gonna talk to people on set. They're gonna talk to Henry Cavill. They're gonna talk to Ben Affleck. They're gonna talk to Gal Gadot. You know, Ezra Miller. It's a shame that what's ironic about the whole thing is that it seems like that movie was a disaster. The movie itself, on screen and behind the scenes, it seems like not just from a creative point of view, but it seems like there actually could have been some like really not right things happening on that movie. It's like that movie just is a complete disaster, like fire truck.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping we get the truth soon.
What is the truth?
Well,
it honestly brings us back. I mean, it's funny. Me and Kevin are so different. It's funny. Well, me and Kevin were in this law class last, in the spring of spring.
Yeah, spring this year.
And it was funny. Our professor, he said, like, what is the truth? That was like one of our first classes, I think. And it's like, well, that's your truth. This is my truth. And it's not always like one person's lying either. Right. They just saw it a different way. It's
perspective, man. It's really perspective.
And that's a problem with these cases like this. I think more people would have to maybe I don't want to use that word like gang up. More people would have to speak out against Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon to make it be something that has some validity to it. It's a really interesting story. We don't hear much about these that often, especially on a big set movie like this.
Right. And the thing about this is like, this is a serious, allegation. And I mean, I haven't seen much of it in terms of all over social media. I mean, I follow Ray Fisher, and that's how I've seen it. But in terms of, with other big allegations, you tend to see it come across your social media a lot more than this is.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. We'll see if there's even ever a result to this. It seems like the Justice League, like the absolute shockwave effect that movie has had all over the place. Now that we're getting a remake of the film, and all of this stuff from the behind the scenes that literally happened in 2016 is coming to light now. It's just unbelievable what that movie was. And I think it might have been a bit of a turning point in the DCEU, or just in DC films in general, Warner Brothers, because honestly, from then they've kind of, turned around. They've kind of turned what they've been doing. They're
reevaluating themselves right now.
They're
reinventing themselves, I should say.
Yeah, they're making. Obviously, they're kind of resetting the DCEU. They're talking about a multiverse, which is opening up a lot of things that makes it so that they can do a lot of whatever they want necessarily in this universe. And then they're making smaller films. They made an Elseworld film, as Amada said at DC Fandom, in The Joker. And they're making the Batman, which is not. It's
not part of the DCEU.
No, it's a separate thing. It's technically like in the multiverse, but it's not like it's not even really going to be a part of it at all. And speaking of the Batman, it came back. It started to. So I mean, this is sad news. Really, it's really a shame. I mean,
it really is a shame. It really, really is a shame.
Everyone should go back and watch our DC Fandom episode and just listen to me and Thomas just freak out about it. Was going out of DC Fandom, the Batman was the news. To me, that was what was really important and what I was most excited about.
Right.
And they just started film. They just gotten back to filming the Batman in London, and it turns out that Robert Pattinson has been tested positive for the coronavirus. So,
what a shame.
Absolute shame, dude. And little tease for later, I loved him in Tenet. I absolutely adored his performance in that movie.
We'll get to that. We will get to that.
So I mean, that almost made me more sad because I just saw him. He's so great. It's honestly a shame. I'm kind of upset we even know this. I feel like he would prefer if we didn't know that he had it. There's a lot of weird privacy stuff that happens in these kind of situations.
But why would you say that?
I don't know.
Why do you think that he wouldn't want us to know?
I just think it's his business. I don't think he didn't come out and say, like, I think a reporter went and found out that you know, and which is good to us because we're talking about it. It's what the news. We're talking about it on our show. Everyone's writing about it on every little nook and cranny website on the internet. But I don't think, I mean, I don't know him, but I just think I don't see him as a person that would be like, hey, I have COVID, like The Rock did. And you know, and The Rock kind of turned that and made that into something and said protect your families and all this sort of stuff. So
well, I think it was good that, you know, we found out that it was Robert Pattinson who had the virus, came out and had the virus, you know. But the question in my head now is, when are we going to get the Batman?
Yeah, I hope this.
Yeah, and that's an unanswered question right now.
Yeah, it's temporarily paused, the filming of the movie, but there was.
They just came back and said they were filming and released the trailer, and now it's.
It was. I did read somewhere that apparently Matt Reeves might try to continue filming very soon without Pattinson.
But if they have to, so if they have to cut ends to continue filming, I don't want that. I'd rather wait for them to properly film.
Right. But if they can film shots where he's not in the film, he's not in it, or they can just throw a body double in for like whatever shot.
Well, of course, you know.
Yeah, I'm not against that. I think that it could be pretty cool if they just decide, I want the movie in October of next year. You know what I mean? So if they can get that to me. Well, and the biggest takeaway I think from this whole story is just us coming back to starting to film movies safely. That is, I think, the bottom line here.
Yeah, no one should be at risk. No one should feel unsafe filming a movie. Well, at all, but
but it's hard not. I mean, there's a seesaw effect here. I mean, you have to weigh your options. You're contractually obligated. You want to film it. If you're Robert Pattinson, you don't want to have to stay in shape forever. To be the Batman and have to constantly be.
And the thing about it too, I mean, on these film sets, they're at it for hours, days, even.
Oh yeah.
So it definitely takes a toll. I mean, virus out the window. It definitely takes a toll on the human body.
Yeah.
To be on these film sets. So now introduce the virus into that. Yeah, better be safe than sorry. I mean, I'd rather wait than hear more cases develop from filming. You know.
Yeah, but we're getting more and more things are going to start filming again. We're getting Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're getting other stuff. We're getting Mission Impossible 7, ladies and gentlemen. Mission Impossible 7 has begun filming. We have an image. You can go check out Mission Impossible on Twitter. Kevin, you checked out this little shot. It's a
shot. Oh, it has Tom Cruise written all over it.
Okay, I want to say something because we're talking about Mission Impossible and 007 today. I prefer Mission Impossible films over James Bond films. Where do you land on that, Kev?
I mean, I prefer 007 James
Bond.
Really?
Why?
I mean, it's all about the action, man. All about the action.
The action's awesome in Mission Impossible. I think it's.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it's well up there, but for me, 007 is just a little bit above.
Why though? More cars?
Well, obviously. No, not solely the cars. I mean, growing up, I never really was into Mission Impossible, but I was into 007. So that's, I mean, if I boil it down to a reason, I mean, that would be my reason. You know?
I mean, James Bond is like a more famous property, I would say. Of course. It's James Bond. But I just think the recent movies they've had for Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, wasn't that one of them? I thought I loved those. And I think that I really think that Mission Impossible is more fun movies. To me, those James Bond films, they get a little bit, I don't know, they take themselves, I think, a bit too seriously sometimes.
Too seriously? I like that. You see, I like that.
It's good. I enjoy the movies, but Mission Impossible, oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm getting. I'm gonna go sit down, get some popcorn, and just relax and have a great time watching this movie and see Tom Cruise doing all these crazy stunts and all this crazy fun.
Yeah.
Skyfall, it's like, am I sitting down for something that's gonna really mess with my head, like Tenet or something, or am I gonna sit down and watch a fun action flick? Where do you land on that?
I wanna experience everything. I want action. I want the movie to affect me. I want to go home and dream about, okay, let me decipher this. What was meant by this, you know?
This is why the MCU exists.
No, but I mean, MI7, we know it's going to be great. We know it's going to be like.
I think I have more faith in Mission Impossible movies than Skyfall films, but James Bond. Yeah, I do. You don't?
Listen,
I wouldn't mind a new James Bond. Not gonna lie.
No, man. I mean, when it comes to the action, the cars, the story, you know, I'm all for James Bond.
Okay. I mean, interesting. But we'll hope. Bottom line for this piece of news: let's really hope that Mission Impossible. You know, everyone stays safe. They're just starting filming, which is very interesting. This isn't a film that was delayed or anything that had to cut in between. They are just now starting production, filming, actual principal photography on the movie. So interesting times. Let's hope they stay safe. I'm not sure where they're filming. Did you see that? No, I don't know.
No, multiple locations. I figure. Yeah,
I'm sure. But very exciting stuff. I think that I don't know. I really hope that they stay safe, and I think Mission Impossible better.
I'm very interested in seeing how they're gonna top. Like, what's the going to be?
That's
bro, Tom Cruise hung off a building, like just hung off a building.
Yeah, I mean,
what is the next stunt that's gonna top that?
Yeah. So I really think that I don't know. They kind of are suffering from the. They're suffering from the Fast and Furious kind of syndrome, where you have to keep upping yourself.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, but that does it for What the News. Kevin, how are we doing so far? How are you doing in your first episode of Let's Under Action?
I'm doing good. I mean, I can never live up to Thomas. Never.
No, you're doing a great job, man.
I'm having fun, but I want to get to the main dish.
Yes. But before we get there, we have an ad for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, let's play an ad. Thomas, you got me?
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
All righty. Look who's entered the building.
Oh.
Thomas has made it. He's remote. He's on an island. We don't know where Thomas is right now.
That's off the coast of we don't know.
He's out of his standard living area. Thomas, how you doing? Welcome in. You're back on your own show.
I'm back. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I was just warming up the seat for you, Thomas.
Get out of my house. Why are you in my house? Who let you in here? Where is she?
So here we go. Tenet. We have a new movie, guys. Not New Mutants, that piece of junk. We have an actual fun, good
listen. Film. Don't talk badly about New Mutants, okay?
Okay, quick aside. 10 seconds, Kevin. You get to do your New Mutants review. Hit it. You have 10 seconds.
I still had fun watching it. It's awful, but I had fun watching
it. Exactly. So, hey, that's a gleaming review. I said don't go see it. Also, let's make sure we remember that our kind of ranking for our new reviews is going to be, is it worth going to see in the theater? If you're healthy and want to go see it, is kind of how we preface it. So
yes,
the beginning is yes to that question. Tenet.
I'll save everyone trouble now. Yes, you want to see it in the IMAX because holy fracking shirt bollocks, kids. Mind blown. David, while we're here, I can't get access. Go to Brand.
Yes, sir.
I made graphics in the middle of you guys talking. So.
Oh, what a guy. Oh, I see. Coolio.
Don't fall. Cheap technology.
All right. So, let me start with. Oh, my bad. Let me start with the review. I think this movie has a 2.5-hour runtime.
Mm-hmm.
It's never moved faster for a 2.5-hour runtime, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, not just okay. I don't mean that in the sense that jumping from scene to scene, but the plot just moves, and they talk so quickly in these scenes. I was watching with Jasmine, my girlfriend, and like she's leaning over to me saying they need to slow down, and I'm like, the movie's 2.5 hours long, and she's like, yeah, they need to slow down. I can't keep up with what they're saying because no spoilers yet, but they run through all these different things and explaining certain aspects of the film that are crucial to what the heck's even going on, and they do it so quickly. One thing I love about the movie, and this isn't a spoiler, but I think it's for people that actually are curious about the movie, I've seen the trailers and don't know if they want to go see it, is that you don't have, it's super fun to dive deep into what the heck's going on, but the movie makes it easy, and they kind of use some characters to make it so if you don't know fully what's happening, you'll still enjoy it. Like Jasmine said, she's like, I was confused. So she's like, I was confused for a lot of it, and she didn't really get the ending. But she said she liked the movie. You know what I mean? I know I explained, Tom. I explained it. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't get the ending? And she's like, I didn't understand what's happening. I'm like, all right.
That was the most straightforward ending ever. They tell it from Christopher Nolan. They tell you exactly what happens.
I thought so too. That's what I was surprised about, and that's a good point because I think they actually left things. You said this, Thomas. I think it left things open for a trilogy or just a sequel.
Yes,
I agree. It definitely left things in where we need another movie to continue this. We want another movie.
Yeah, which is something they did kind of Interstellar. But it's not a common, I would say, Nolan trope is to leave things up for it. It could be, but not really. This one kind of makes you want one in a way. And you can see where it could be a fun film if there was another one. So Thomas, you saw this film.
Yes,
I've been rambling. What are your kind of overall initial thoughts on it?
I forgot to bring my laptop over so I could read the review I wrote. But I'll rattle off what I can remember. This is the simplest plot I think Christopher Nolan has ever had. It's very simple. Bad guy has a bad thing. You got to stop the bad guy before he does the bad thing.
Yeah.
But in the story, it's the how they stop that bad guy that really kind of changes it up and makes it complex to where Jasmine and other folks can't follow along.
Right.
Because it almost wants you to question the reality of what they're using, the science of the quantum physics and the quantum realm and the boopity boops and time travel or whatever's happening.
Yeah.
Spoilers, spoiler free section. But then it adds layers to it. But at the entire time, you know that you got to stop a bad guy, and that's all they do. And the methods they use it is very unique.
Very unique is a.
It requires you to look at every scenario in your life from multiple points of view, analyzing it in every single way. And if you're good at doing that, you're going to figure out the plot and what's happening very fast. I sadly, about halfway through, went, I know exactly what's happening. The only thing that surprised me was the revelation of the protagonist at the end. I was like, oh, and at that point, I was like, well, that cleaned up all these loose threads I had from little one-liners from characters.
Yeah.
My only gripe, I have two gripes.
Okay.
One is just the sound mixing. There were certain scenes where it was super fracking loud, and then they say something, and it's very important, and you can tell, but you couldn't understand what they were saying. Where's my subtitles, IMAX?
Yeah.
Where's my subtitles? Number two, why the hell are they... Okay, Christopher Nolan, I love you, brother. But you wrote Elizabeth Debicki as just a damsel in distress, and I emotionally am not okay with that because, I mean, she kills it. I mean, she straight up destroys the role. She takes what she's given and turns it into, I mean, I think it's award-worthy, but this is why I don't vote for things.
She has a great performance, yeah.
She's amazing in every single thing she's ever been in. The first thing I ever saw her in was The Night Manager with Tom Hiddleston and what's his name? Hugh Laurie, the guy who played House.
Okay.
They were in it. They were in it, and she was a damsel in distress, but the entire time she was kind of weaseling underneath one person, and it was so well done. And this was very similar to that character in certain areas, but in other areas it was way different and way better. But why is she being written as a damsel? This is a quick spoiler. It's not that spoilery, but she does get vengeance. Vengeance. But at the end, it's like, okay. Like, I just felt
she has her moment.
It wasn't enough to me.
Yeah.
She's being saved multiple times in multiple ways in multiple realities. Only in the end.
Is she or has she yet? What?
Okay.
Yeah.
See, and that's why her little vengeance situation wasn't enough. It was one bit after, like, there's at least 6 different times they save her in this movie.
I get that. I understand.
And it's
that,
like,
right?
why can't chicks be badass too, Nolan?
Right. We saw it when we did Trilogy of Trilogies. We said Rachel, especially in Batman Begins, was a total
Rachel.
So Kevin, you just saw this movie.
I just saw it.
Yeah. So you just came out of the theater.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts, buddy? What did
My
you?
first thought is I need to rewatch it.
Yes,
That's my first
I
thought.
completely agree.
I have to rewatch it.
Unbelievably
I mean,
rewatchable.
we'll get into this. We'll get into this when we talk about spoilers. But certain things line up with certain things, and there's a lot of to miss, right? But I loved it. After coming out the theater, I didn't have everything put together in my head. I was like, okay, I know how this flows. I understand everything. I love the ending. I really love the ending
a lot too.
But I didn't have everything fully planted. On my drive home. Okay, so this is what they meant. Whoa! So it took it. I needed to sit with the information and sit with it a little bit and to figure out exactly what was happening. Because while I understood what was happening, I understood the plot, but there's so many dimensions to it. And as Thomas said, you look at it from certain ways. You're like, okay, this is kind of like, this can get jumbled kind of quickly. But if you think about it, if you focus on what's shown to you, don't like try to expand your mind on it. It's very cool. It's such a cool concept.
Yeah.
Unbelievable give
cool
Nolan credit on that. Like, is he taking psychedelics and sitting down and trying to figure out how he can, plan out these things? Because it's a cool concept.
Well, so this is what my I had some friends that really like Nolan movies, and I was talking to them about it, and I saw it like right when I could on Monday night last week, and they were asking like, "Hey, what, Thomas? What do you have to say?"
I'm so pissed. You're just having all this fun. I'm driving 13 hours to Texas, and then we'd been things got delayed, so I'm here till Wednesday.
You have to see the movie though.
I got to see the movie. I had some days off. I drove to Waco. I drove an hour and change away to go see this movie.
Wow.
So I had lots of time to sit with it on the way back. And all I could think was, holy crap, dude. That was like, in terms of the story and how it was composed, it was like perfect. There's not a lot I would change about the story, except Elizabeth Debicki. But what were you saying, David, about your Nolan friends?
Yeah, I was saying, they were asking me, hey, big Nolan, Harry from Harry Craig. Yeah, I was talking to Harry and some others, but he was really asking me because he I don't talk to him much. He's like, "Hey, Tenet, what's up?" Like, I love Nolan. Like, how is it? He didn't watch one trailer or anything. Oh. Yeah, I want to go in like completely pure and just go and see it, like, which is awesome. I think going into a movie like that would be amazing. Not having the idea of what it's even about.
Yep.
I forget I was even talking to him, but he was super excited. So shout out to Harry. I hope he's seen it. I should text him.
I also talked to Harry.
That's funny.
After I saw the movie.
Yeah. Has he seen it? Do you know?
Not that I know of. I haven't received a smorgasbord of text yet. He said he would once he sees it. So.
All right, sounds good. So anyway, I was comparing it to other Nolan films, and this is how I broke it down. I don't know if you guys have you seen all of them or like most of them. Anyway, yeah. I said it was a mix of Memento, Interstellar. No. Yeah, a little bit of Interstellar and more Inception. Like it's a little bit of Interstellar, so it's like a big chunk of it's like Memento, Inception, and then a little bit of Interstellar in there. I think Interstellar, not to be spoilery, but Interstellar is more of like the super crazy like science where it's like, hey, this isn't just some fantasy land. This is like kind of in the real world, but unbelievable. You know what I mean? And Memento is for the obvious reason. because it's worked timeline wise. It's like,
Yes.
ooh, this is so much fun. That's why I wanted to go rewatch it. Like what you were saying, Kevin, is that it's like you want to go rewatch it to see
what you've missed.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I want us to get into spoilers, man.
Well, before you get into the spoilers, right? There's one thing I want to say, like, and this is classic with Nolan. I love the way he frames his characters.
Yes.
He has this way of, that. I mean, there's one scene in particular, in picture in my head right now, with the protagonist, and we talk about it in spoilers, but there's the way he gives that really wide shot. And then you get into the nitty gritty of it. I love the cinematography in this movie and the sound design. So the mixing of it was, I agree with you. It was difficult at times to hear what the characters were saying, but I loved the score. I love the sound.
Oh yeah. I love a good, the score.
Yeah, not like it was, and it wasn't Hans Zimmer. I know Hans Zimmer is doing Dune right now. So he was able to do the sound for this, right? But I can't remember the composer's name. But I love the idea of having that glitchy digital sound to this movie. Yes. It fits so well. I really, really enjoyed that.
One thing I want to shout out is just John David Washington and Robert Pattinson's performance. We obviously talked about Elizabeth Debicki, but I think Robert Pattinson and John David Washington also. I had never seen anything with John David Washington. It is so cool when he sounds like Denzel. his voice. He actually has there's some moments where you hear Denzel in his voice, and it's like, this is so cool. It's one of those like legacy things. It's like whole like guy is actually like it's almost like a passing of the torch. He's really good. Robert Pattinson's character, honestly, after the first scene with him, I'm like, is he gonna be back? Is he gonna be in this movie a lot? And it's like, oh, he is.
Then it turns out that
he's really in this movie.
He's the movie, honestly.
He really is. And there's a funny theory that Jasmine had when we were watching it in the middle. She's like, I think this is what's going on, and it wasn't true, or was it? But we'll get to that.
I want to hear what that is.
We'll get to that in spoilers.
Yeah. But Washington's performance was great. It honestly was great. Yeah. His dialogue delivery and the action scenes, the ferocity in this man, the intensity. I felt bad for those guys.
He's the only person that can be both very suave and clean and looking like $1 million in like a $2,000 suit, and then beat the shit out of you with a cheese grater in the same scene. When he's like, Brooks Brothers won't cut it. There was that scene specifically with Michael Caine. The speed of that dialogue caught me way off guard. Like, they're cutting back and forth in a really fast way that it's almost in a comedic way, but it wasn't a comedy scene, and you can tell.
But funny about that scene, the comedy was taking place with the protagonist and another character, but the drama was taking place with Michael Caine and the protagonist.
Yes,
but
that's true.
The information was flowing. It's fast, but it was flowing. It
was breakneck speed, which was. There was a point where I was like, "Are they just cutting because these guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about?" Because Michael Caine has admitted he has no idea what this movie's even about.
No doubt. He's in one scene. Yeah. Spoilers.
He's only in a scene, but he's awesome, man. So it's awesome. And then with Robert Pattinson, he's basically the main character of this movie. From a certain point of view,
there's like 4 main characters from a certain point of view.
Right. There are multiple stories happening in this one movie.
Like
his performance. This is the first time I've ever seen him perform with his native accent. I loved it. You know who could be James Bond?
Ooh,
because that's a totally different style of James Bond, but like he would crush it. Like there was a scene. Is he talking to Elizabeth Debicki? He's talking to someone, and it's just such snark. And it's like, he's such a pompous ass right now. And then he smirks, and it's like, But you love him for it.
You know what's funny is I feel like I didn't hardly get like any names. You know, when you go into a movie, it's like, what even were their names? It didn't even matter. You know what I mean? And
Cat?
Yeah.
Cat
Neil.
is Elizabeth the Big Neil. Oh my God.
John
Sater. And then
The
protagonist.
lady's name.
Oh yeah. It starts with a P.
Like I saw this movie with two of my good friends, and when we came out, they had the same reaction. What were everyone's names?
Yeah.
What was it? But they did a really clever thing with the protagonist, though. I love that.
Yeah, John David Washington didn't have it. Well,
yeah, he didn't have, and he kept saying, "I'm the protagonist."
I'm the protagonist. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like
so cool.
Yeah, it's so cool, right? Yeah.
It was so meta, and that was so surprising coming from Nolan. He's not the most meta guy. But that was wicked meta, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. I will say I really want to get into spoilers. I feel like that conversation could last longer. So I wanted to say just kind of final thoughts for someone who's considering, hey, maybe I wait. I really like what Kevin was saying. The action, you get that kind of like it's gritty. It's like feels real. It's thumping action and music, and I think it's
aggressive. It's aggressive.
And the cinematography, you mentioned it earlier, Kevin.
Phenomenal.
When things get a little crazy, the cinematography, I'm sitting there like, how are they doing this?
Right.
I mean, that's another point where it's like,
how did they film this, right?
Spoilers. Can we get the spoilers?
I would love to,
because I know how.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. So everyone, we're in agreeing. Go see it if you can, if you're able to. Go see this movie. I wish there was an option for those that didn't feel safe or that really can't take the risk that it was on digital for them to go see it. But
I don't.
Why? I want everyone to go see this movie.
I want to see this movie only on the big screen. That there is so much happening in every single frame that you need to be able to pay attention on a different level.
Movie where you pay attention to what's happening in the foreground and in the background.
Foreground, background.
We're gonna get into spoilers, man.
I just broke my shirt.
Uh-oh.
Damn it. I lost a button. Damn it.
All right, everyone.
A new shirt.
If you're still here and you don't want
the inversion, Thomas, you can fix the shirt in there.
All right, we've officially entered the spoiler zone. Spoilers. This is good. This is good enough.
That's good, yeah.
So inversion. I thought it was so cool when it's like, all right, what's happening when he first is learning about it? It's like, why is it going back? Like, how can he control it?
Okay. Listen, I'll be asking these questions, and you guys come up with the answers. Why are we going backwards? What is happening?
Okay, before we get there, I just wanted to say it made a lot more sense to me when there was actually the machine that you go into,
right?
Turn. You go out and it's being inverted, and it's like whoa.
I'm happy that's how they did it.
And they were physical stuff where you couldn't breathe, and it just like we were saying, the way it was shot and how he's moving backwards, like everything around him's moving backwards.
He's moving, so he's moving forward, but everything else is
going backwards.
But in the timeline A, I guess he's moving backwards and everything else is moving forwards. You know what I mean? So
yes.
And just when I just think the movie, to me, it was fun. I was having a great time. My mind was being pulled in 7 different directions. But when he finally was like, no, I'm going in and I'm going backwards and I'm going to go do this. That's when it took off for me. I'm like, yes.
That's about an hour and 50. It's about
it was
the movie.
building to get to that moment.
And then when they get there, that's when everything starts making sense.
Yeah.
And that shit, how they filmed it, he had to film everything in reverse.
Did he? Okay.
And if you watch, he had to blink in reverse. He had to throw stuff in reverse. He stepped. So
the step,
Brandon Davis, the Brandalorian from comicbook.com, had an interview with him, and I watched it. because I knew that. I mean, I saw the trailer. I was like, stuff's going backwards. I got to know how that's made.
Mhm.
And he's like, oh no, I had to learn that entire thing. I had to learn fights backwards and forwards.
The one fight. Oh my god.
Yeah. Which, I mean, are we
You're in spoilers.
or
Yeah, we're in spoiler territory. Let's
And he
go.
fights himself. That was so cool.
And I picked up on that at some point along, like way before that happened. I was like, oh, he fought himself.
But I'll tell you, okay, so I didn't pick up on that.
Oh,
And when it happened, it was so rewarding.
Yeah.
It was so rewarding.
Rewarding film. This movie is a rewarding
exactly.
film.
'Cause you
Following
watch it
along
and
is
as you go
rewarding.
along, you're like, okay, so what does this mean? And then everything gets answered. It's
Yes.
so good.
Which is rare for Nolan.
Mhm.
Completely. And there's still some loose ends. So, okay, here's the Jasmine crazy.
Are there
thing.
loose ends?
Yeah, exactly. It's going like this, and you can just kind of
It's
wherever you want.
yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? The Twilight at Dusk or something? I need a new Tenet?
I forget what it was.
Something like that, yeah.
Here's the theory that
Okay,
Jasmine
let's hear
had
the
midway
theory.
through. She goes, I think it was right when that kind of stuff was happening. And quick aside before I get to this. It was during the scene when she looked at me. Remember when they were going when what's her name was shot in reverse, the inversion shot?
Yeah.
That was gnarly. But second, if you remember in that scene when Robert Pattinson and John David Washington are talking back and forth, when the camera would cut, it would cut and they would be in like slightly different locations. And in my head, I'm like, this is him like look like kind of giving us a look at like multiple universes going in the same timeline.
I don't.
Well, I think the multiple cuts was from two sides of the.
Stay with me. They're in the little confinement area. I think they're
The
traveling.
chamber that leads to the door, right?
Private. Yeah. They're
Near
in
the end.
They're in the inversion.
Mhm.
Okay.
What's the character's name? Elizabeth.
Cat.
Cat is laying down. She's like asleep. They knocked her out. That's Robert Pattinson like injected her and said, "Hey, you need to sleep."
Okay.
And they're just kind of talking back and forth, and they're just driving along, and they're like,
Oh, this is when they were in the container.
Oh my god.
and they're just
You're right.
and you okay. I think it's supposed to be for the most people. Oh, time is passing, but it was the same conversation happening. So it wasn't like time was passing. They were moving locations. The same conversation is happening. And when they would cut the camera, maybe I thought too much into this, but I'm pretty sure when the camera would like cut, they'd be in slightly different like positions or like locations, but they'd be continuing the same conversation. And it wasn't like they had moved. It was like we were seeing multiple timelines happening at the same time. And it was showing like the strands of like how reality can be slightly different.
Okay.
I mean,
That's brilliant. 'Cause I noticed that they were in different locations, but I thought it was just time was passing because I wasn't
Exactly.
thinking too much.
Right.
I was
Same.
focused on the dialogue of what they were talking about.
What they were
I
having
wanted to know.
conversation. Like they weren't
And-
just like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't think about it until you mentioned that. And you're right. That's how many times have I said the F word on this one today?
Yeah, that's a good. That was a good observation, David.
I really want to go back and watch it and see if I'm like, maybe that was what they were actually doing. Because in the moment, I'm like, wait, it's not exactly the story they're telling, actually, but it seemed like they were kind of nodding at that, where there is these multiple things. So here's the theory. Here's the theory that Jasmine came up with. She said during that scene, she leans over and whispers, so maybe I was distracted. She's like, I bet Robert Pattinson is her son. He's the little boy. That's what Jasmine said. And he's been going in time. And he's like from way in the future as her son. And she's like, I bet that's what they'll reveal at the end. They didn't, but it's still up for interpretation. And I was like,
I was
actually kind of upset in my head. I'm like,
Damn, Jasmine, that's a better film.
listen. Whoever is watching this right now, if it isn't written yet, Jasmine called it. You should write it now.
Dibs.
Yeah, it was a good. And what's funny though is actually in the theater, I'm like, did you just ruin the ending for me?
No, but the ending was so rewarding too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
the whole battle scene of them going in reverse and being at the same time.
I loved the actor who played like the missionary. He was Quicksilver.
Was that Aaron Taylor Johnson?
It is Aaron Taylor
Johnson. I loved that scene with him briefing the team. So cool.
Yeah, the briefing in one's in the inversion and one's not.
Him explaining exactly how everything is going to go on. Like we were a part of that team. That was cool. I appreciated that.
And then it's I love the part when someone's asked him some question. It's like that's need to know, and you don't need to know. Spicy.
Yeah,
that's how you keep the timelines intact.
Yeah, it was so cool opening up where it really was like everyone gets it, or it's like holy crap, that's what this movie is about. Where it's like you have to just be ready for everything in your timeline to be like, oh, I have to do this later, or I have to do this now. Like with Robert Pattinson at the end, where like the protagonist knows he is going to die, but he's like, "Oh, it's fine. Like I have to go do that because that was me." So like I have these like time jumpers. It's like you have to just be ready and do your part. You can't.
What happened. What happened happened.
And we get and the protagonist, we get hit at the end. You know how he's been the guy.
And he's learning this, and it's funny enough, it definitely needs a rewatch because funny enough, as it goes along, he's learning as well. And whenever Robert Pattinson said that what happened, so cool.
Exactly, that's exactly the line. Yeah, what happened, and that's the whole point of the movie. And that's click.
I'll tell you one part that really I knew that okay, I'm fully into it. When they got that little the truck scene, I should say, and Robert Pattinson is following in the BMW behind. Anyway, so the protagonist jumps in the seat, but from the moment you first see the BMW, you notice the mirror is busted. I noticed that,
it's like shot.
Why is that? And then it happens. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
See, I picked up on that. There's another part just like that earlier in the movie. Oh, it's when he first fights himself, and you see the bullet holes. And I'm like, oh, okay, because it was the same. Well, I mean, they telegraph it in the very opening scene when he's seeing the bullet hole, and he's like, "What the hell?" And then it slowly builds up, and then he backs away, and it shoots out and shoots someone behind him. That I noticed at that point, I was like, oh, okay, so it's already happened, and it happens in reverse. So I started picking up, looking for those little clues, and that's what led me to recognizing that he was going to be fighting himself. What I did not anticipate was him. Well, I didn't anticipate it until he went into the machine. And then I was like, oh, he's literally there in 3 places at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why, because I noticed that he ripped his mask off and then he didn't do anything. He ran away and stopped him. Yeah. And I was like, okay.
And that was the thing where
I was thinking it was himself at first. And then as we got deeper in, I'm like, oh my God, no, that's going to be him.
Dude, he's the one. When he fights himself, oh my gosh, it's
so
cool. It's so cool. And it being in reverse. And okay, this is the thing about this film that I think is so worth a rewatch, is because you're going through it and you're watching a movie typically, and you watch it, and what's happened, it's in the past now. 45 minutes ago, that happened a while ago. We're still moving forward. This movie, it goes to a point, and then it comes back. Holy crap, this is so cool.
Just that fight scene with him fighting himself.
Just going back to the airport scene was, I thought, awesome. Yeah, because there's so much to dive into during the airport scene. The first time, it's awesome.
The way, actually thinking about it now, the way that fight scene was shot in terms of what they chose to focus on and how they chose to show certain things, him picking up the gun, him crawling backwards.
Yeah.
When you look at it, when he goes back to it now, oh.
Yeah. It's so cool. One other thing, so speaking of the inversion, is one of the best scenes to me is, through explaining it and actually understanding it and seeing how cool it looks on screen. I mean, that's part of the reason no one wanted to do this, is just how insanely awesome it could look on screen. And and just what they can do with cinematography is when they're in that room where it's two-sided and one side's going forward and one side's going backwards, and there's a machine, and we see it all. So we see the full scene of the bad guy, I forget his name. Also, great bad guy. He was really good.
Sator. Played by Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh, it makes a great bad guy. I thought he was scary. Yeah.
I really, really like that character. Even though he had a bit of a man-child syndrome type stuff. If I can have you, no one can have you.
Yeah.
But I really like this character.
Me too.
You know, I loved how he said he's going to torture him by slitting his throat and cutting his balls off and shoving his balls in his neck, just because it's hilarious to watch a man try and pull balls out of his throat before choking.
I thought it was his bones, not his balls.
Balls.
Balls. Yeah.
Balls.
Oh.
Balls. Yeah. I was like, he's savage.
I literally thought it was balls.
I instantly put that in my brain and was like, I'm gonna have to do something like that in a film one day.
But anyway, back to that scene. There's the scene where Savitt has Cat, right? Cat.
Mm-hmm.
See the names in the movie.
Which scene?
That's the thing.
He has her multiple times, bro.
No, I'm gonna explain. No.
So bad for her.
I know, right? When they have her when it's in that room and when we first walk in and we're in the protagonist's point of view and it's him holding her behind the plexiglass.
Yes.
Right.
And we're getting it. It's like in reverse there, and then forward on our side. It was awesome to me, and it was something that makes this movie 2.5 hours. They show that full scene twice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bold move in today's world where you literally show a scene twice, but it was just one way. It was exactly what it was, and it was just so cool to see. And I thought that was something that lasted like 10 minutes, but was so worth it. And I think it was a bold choice by Nolan, and I just wanted to give him a shout out to that.
What I found really interesting about that scene is when it came to the dialogue. I couldn't understand shit over that.
Same.
I think it was in reverse.
I was about to say a lot of that audio and dialogue was in reverse.
And they knew what they were saying. So they had a full-on conversation while the other was speaking.
And we didn't know.
Yeah. Because he goes through it and it's like, you gave him everything. And I'm like, did he give him everything? I don't actually know. And then you find out he's in the bloody BMW driving backwards, and so they both see it. Like I was like, oh, he's got a leg up on him, and then he saw him, and I was like, shit, no, he doesn't.
I just have to shout out again. Him going out with the breath thing and starting to go backwards is the best moment in the movie, in my opinion.
And if you watch closely,
the superhero moment.
It's
yeah,
it really is.
I'm doing this. Closely, I'm going out and being in the danger. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you watch closely, you can tell that he shot it in reverse.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah,
because
that first thing with the footstep into the puddle, that's in that's in reverse. Yeah,
and how he moves is enough. But the way that it works in story is that you feel like you're. What did they say? You're walking upstream.
Yeah, you're swimming
basically.
upstream.
Yeah. Everything
and
is
and it's like that's a great little piece of dialogue to be like, oh, that's why it's not smooth.
Oh, and
it works out very well.
With him driving, he was warned about the driving. He asked about
the driving was scary.
He's like, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and of course, probably the best part of that whole thing is setting someone on fire is actually freezing them, and freezing them is setting them on fire because everything's inverted.
Because, and I love the idea of it wasn't just like time manipulation. It was actual physics at play. It was the reverse of physics. So if things get hotter, then you're going to feel it get colder in the reverse.
Really interesting. That kind of pushed it for me. I'm like, wait, what?
Well,
I like that.
Yeah.
I like it because there's already a theory in science that our reality is paralleled specifically with an inverted reality. So everything that you see and you feel and you do is the opposite. So, example, we live in what is called space-time, and in that reality, time, it's time-space. So we traverse space at a rate of time. There, you traverse time at a rate of space, and that is essentially what they do. Slightly different because time is moving whether they're moving or not. But
the direction they move in time.
Exactly.
You can just stream backwards.
Exactly. So it's a slight difference, slightly different play on it. But in the theory not the Nolan film, the idea is that if you go east, you're going into the future. And if you go west, you're going into the past.
Mhm.
And if you go north, you're doing something super weird. I don't remember what it is. And if you go south, you're doing the opposite of that. And
Yeah.
it's just
Right.
And I like
wild.
that it was an actual machine to do this. You had to go into a machine,
Yes.
stuff into a machine for it to be changed.
That I think was key because I think for anyone going in there, that's what I was saying earlier with it being a physical, scientific like thing, like in Interstellar, where it feels like it's actually kind of grounded in some sort of reality where there's science being told to you. That's like, oh, this is technology, this is science. Like Thomas was just saying, it's something like it's a theory, but in this movie, it's real. So it makes it feel like, hey, we're not watching some fantasy sci-fi flick. We're watching something, an action movie that is taking crazy risks and using these theories as reality. And I think seeing a physical machine, seeing a scientist being like working on this stuff and studying it helps see like that sort of thing. It's not just, hey, we all hold hands and say 3 magic words and now we're going backwards. So you know what I mean? Like I thought it was so cool to see a physical machine and how, a lot of movies, just how incredibly valuable this is and how it's so important that he does this and how it's kind of a silly trope in this film. The stakes is just the whole world's gonna explode.
Yeah.
You know, in a way, I'm like, really? That's what we're going with.
That's the best you got.
Yeah,
But, I mean,
That's the same thing in Bill and Ted 3.
One question I do have is, who is the protagonist's boss?
yeah.
Himself? Or was it that gentleman we saw after he woke up in the beginning?
That's a damn good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because he was the one to say, Tenet will get you open the right doors and open the wrong doors or whatever.
That guy's like a wise man or something.
Who was he? And how was he related to the protagonist?
I think everything that organization was created by the protagonist. So whether the protagonist is still alive, which I don't think he is, the old version at least.
Yeah, like the future version.
The future version, I don't think he's alive anymore, but he went back in time to set this up specifically to get to that point where they do stop it, because you can't have loose ends. I think there might be one loose end, but I'll ask your guys' opinion in a minute because I don't remember the actual fallout of that scene.
Okay.
And so in terms of who his boss is whoever is in charge in that moment. Whether he is there in that reality going forward in time as an old man or not, I don't believe so. Because doesn't Neil mention that he died? Neil mentions that he met him at a much older age and they had a lot of adventures together.
I don't know if I caught he died. That was an emotional moment.
Well, that I think that's what we should really dive into, what Neil was trying to explain. But before we get into that, there's one thing that they mentioned that I really, really enjoyed was the grandfather paradox.
Yes.
That we were talking about, David, where, maybe multiple realities. In that scene, Neil is laying on the gurney and he's like, that's the deal with the grandfather paradox. So what if I go back in time and kill myself? Would I then be alive? We don't know. It's a paradox.
Yeah, exactly. And paradoxes are fun because of that. You don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's basically the going. They toy with the idea in the same way that they toyed with it in Interstellar of going into a black hole. What happens? Yeah. But in Interstellar, they went back and did it. And I think that's where people got upset. So in this movie, instead of doing it, he's like, we'll just throw the idea in your face and be like, it was all a red herring.
It's funny going into this movie. I didn't know they were going to dive so far into the inversion, and it being, in all honesty, it's a time traveling movie. It is. Simple way of putting it. Like I think Nolan would maybe take offense with that, but that's what it is. I mean, you could compare it to you could literally take the logic of Back to the Future and compare it to Nolan, and compare it to Tenet. If you wanted to, you could compare it to Endgame. There was Endgame moments in this movie that
Bill and Ted.
Instead of going, it's funny. Tenet, weird to compare it to Endgame, but because of time traveling, you kind of have to at this point. And it's funny because in Endgame, we're going back to scenes that happened years ago here. 2020 or 2012's Avengers. In Tenet, we're doing that, but it's like a slingshot, like it's like a boomerang. We went so far and we came back, and we're getting the same sort of feeling and emotions I got watching Endgame a bit, where we're just I don't know how neat it is to see something play back to you from a different perspective. In this way,
yes.
First, okay, quick thing. There was one gripe I kind of got. They didn't explain this part. Jasmine was like, "What?" So he's going backwards now. He's going in inversion. He's going backwards, and then and it's like, "Hey, you can't breathe. Need the thing." A bunch is happening. He's talking to the arms dealer woman, who's not actually an arms dealer, right? Yes. You know what I'm talking about? Yes. Talking, and it's like he's talking to her because so now it's getting confusing with the timelines. He's talking to her before he talked to her in the first.
Yeah, they haven't. So when they had that conversation, they didn't meet yet.
Or no, they had met, but they hadn't talked from an earlier scene. It was like the second time you see them talk, I think. Right? See, this is where it gets difficult.
See, that scene was a little bit. The way they broke that dialogue down was a bit confusing because she definitely spoke to him in his first. We're gonna follow John David Washington, the protagonist's timeline as we follow.
Yeah.
So he had already spoken to her to get the football. I'm sorry, the nuclear bomb, which turns out to be the thing. I'm calling it a football because
right.
You know, it's easier.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
And then he says not to do that, and she says, "Well, what's happened? And he goes, "No." So you knew I was going to lose it, and she's like, "Well, no," or something. And then I got confused at the end of that because it just went to a place, and then it instantly cut away really fast, and I don't remember the. See, I don't remember the resolution of that scene, which I didn't remember until you brought it up.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember the resolution of breaking apart the contraption at the end and what the fudge happens.
So, Wait, what do you mean the conclusion? They basically are like, we can't see each other ever again.
Yeah, I thought it was like, what are they going to do with the thing?
Just hide them.
Yeah, hide it. That was the main purpose, just to get
it's like taking the lock away from the lock and the key.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only loose thread in the film.
Yeah,
anybody can find that.
Yeah, but it's like each the three of them, whatever, they have it in some capacity, and it's like they can't see each other ever again because if they do, they have to kill each other.
Right.
Kill the other because you can't it's the whole. Well, at that point, it's because just the knowledge at that point is just that is enough to be dead.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you would never tell, you could get your teeth pulled out at the beginning, all these things.
So now,
because knowledge.
So because that key is taken away, is the inversion still possible?
Yes.
Oh, he's doing it. That's the whole. I mean, the end. Yeah,
he inverts.
The thing getting that's the doomsday
football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing that's going to end the world. Yeah. So the inversion's still very much out there. There's the machines. There's all these different things they can do that with, and we're seeing trained soldiers in the inversion. It's like
yes, they're like time soldiers.
You really, I think there's going to be a fanfic. I'm sure there's already something on Reddit. What I would want to see is this sort of technology being used more readily, and like how it is in like 40 years, and seeing like it just being like this back and forth, and I don't know. It's such a fun sandbox Nolan made, and we just want to play in it more. I think is the big takeaway by going to see it again. But also, he's not going to make a sequel. I highly doubt it. But that'd be awesome.
I need it. It's the only. I wanted a sequel to Inception, but this one, because the football still exists.
Right.
All you need is one person to travel back in time and interrogate the person and somehow pull the knowledge. Now, obviously, the key is that you won't reveal the knowledge, which is why at the beginning he's only accepted into it after he dies and tries to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if somebody knows that's a thing and they try to kill themselves, they could. The whole point with the inversion is that you can stop something and do it different,
right?
Theoretically.
Yeah.
And so that's what they try to do.
It's like righting wrongs. That's the whole that's where in my head, of course, you know me, Thomas, I'm like, hey, Back to the Future. It's like, hey, literally, it's, hey, we have this machine. Let's go fix and make things right. And also the end of Back to the Future 3. Emily's here. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Emily.
The ending is also like, hey, what was the line, Kev? Whatever happens, happened.
Whatever happens, happened.
And that's a destiny kind of thing. And that's what we get Back to the Future 3, where it's like, hey, your future isn't made yet. Do what you want. And it's, I don't know. I don't know if I loved this movie. I did, but it's like I want to see it more.
I love it. What's wrong with you?
I don't know.
The reason I want a sequel is that last conversation between Neil and the protagonist.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see
that.
how they met. I want to see what they get into.
We're never going to see it.
Yeah.
Because then you do have a weird possibility of
Kev.
Denzel coming in. I mean, he probably wouldn't, but Denzel could come in and do a little bit of stuff here and there if that's the case. And it would be amazing because, whatever happens, happened. Well, they hid the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the future, it still gets made.
Right. That's the thing. That's the thing.
So they can get sent back at a different time.
Yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's where the sequel could come in. And because it exists now, maybe it was made super far in the future, and then someone finds out about it in the less far future and then comes back in time to try and get it. And that's how we get, because they talk about all the adventures they had. Maybe they had adventures trying to destroy it in another
That was incredibly emotional, and it shouldn't have been as emotional as it was.
Right?
Like, it's like, holy crap.
Like,
they had this whole history.
Character.
And that's about the only part that confused me, because Neil is in group B, inverted. Then he goes to red, regular verted. Then he goes back to invert.
Which is in the middle of the mission, he switches.
Doesn't he do? He does that 3 times.
Well, by the end, it's 3. Yeah. Well, by the end, it's 3 because he's going back again.
He's no. He was blue, then
blue.
red, then blue, but then he came back to red. At the end, I think, again, I'm telling you, this is the only part that confused me.
I thought he just did it twice.
Yeah, same.
I thought he did it 3 times.
I thought he literally went, so he goes from blue, and then he goes to red, and then we get the whole scene with him talking about how they had a whole past and stuff, and then when he knows he dies, he goes back to blue.
See, no, I think he goes to blue again.
Wait, at the end when they were talking, were they in blue or red?
They were in red. Which is why I'm thinking it happened 3 times.
All right, let's go see this movie right now.
Yeah.
I
just gotta say, before we continue, I just gotta say that first interaction with Patterson, with Neil and the protagonist. I know you. It's my job to know everything about you. And then it's like, no, he's known him basically his whole life.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's the kid. He's Cat's kid.
Yeah. It's that is a effing strong possibility. So I don't know when Kat was mentioning like that girl, and she was jealous that she seemed so free.
She was the girl. Bro.
She was the
What? As soon as they went inverted, and they were like, "Well, we have to do this." I'm like, "Oh, she's the fucking girl." Like, I knew about that when I realized that John, the protagonist, was gonna fight himself. I was like, "Oh, she's the girl that jumps off." The boat.
I hate that I realized it too soon. I hate that I realized it. I wanted that emotional feeling of being, oh, that's her.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it. I was like, oh,
really?
Jasmine. Whoa!
I'm too. See, I'm too much of a detective when I go see, especially Nolan films. I'm always trying to figure out what's happening.
Yeah,
that is why most often I don't watch trailers. Because I figure it out. I have enough information to go A, B, C, D, and I picked up so early that once you see something, it is important.
Yeah.
And that's going to come back later on. And then once about halfway through the movie, I do believe it was, I was like, oh, I know the whole ending now.
I will say one thing, like you guys was like, oh, I don't love it. Or like, I was like, how don't you love it? I would say the reason I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is as good as Inception or any like Dark Knight, like any other great Nolan film, is just that watching it, I think after my second viewing, I'll be like, yeah, this is up there. Mm-hmm. But the first time watching it, I had to be sitting there so like honed in and being like, what the heck's going on? And there's the moments where you can't really hear, so it's a little frustrating.
It'll get better as you watch it.
Yeah, exactly. I loved it. I mean, I did love it. Because the payoffs I loved.
Yeah, for that.
And I enjoyed the pace, and I enjoyed the technology, and the creativity of this movie is off the charts. It makes sense. Nolan wanted this movie to be out in the world because he's like, everyone's gonna talk about it when it's out, and it's such a cool flick to see in theaters that it's like, please put it out. But yeah, that would be why I was like kind of hesitant to be like best movie ever, just because I think first time viewing it, the payoffs I loved. They're the best part. But
it's a very rewarding film.
Yeah, exactly. But the build sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm almost like sitting here sweating.
But
Which I know is a bad thing.
I want to rewatch it. I just want to caught what I missed.
Same.
I just want to caught what I missed.
Yeah, exactly.
I have questions about the beginning of the film. Is the protagonist there? Like, as soon as the movie ended, all I could think was, is he in this scene? Like the opening scene when you're at the Russian opera.
The opera, yeah.
Right.
All I could think when the movie ended was he in there somewhere?
Oh, like was there another one of him?
Was there another one of him?
Yeah.
Was anyone going in? Oh yeah, because there was the shot backwards, so there was some inverted people there.
There was the bullet going backwards. Yeah, so there was
near him. So did he do that?
Right.
Like, because that was really the starting point of
did he do that? But
just to tease him.
He did that.
Exactly.
Right.
Like
so,
he went back and did that to cue him up.
Oh,
and then
what about this?
It's one loop. It's one big loop, man.
No. But what about this? What if we see
strip.
two of him and we don't notice it? We don't realize, but it's actually two of them.
That's what Thomas is saying. Yeah.
No, but like, yeah, okay. But like,
you mean his
actually
face?
Seeing him, yeah. Like we're going through and we think it's just the one we're watching, but it turns out that it wasn't the whole time. I don't know. Maybe. I think that this kind of goes along with that theory.
The thing about it, you can practically imagine any concept you have in this movie, and I think it will be true.
Yeah. That's what's so fun about Nolan films.
Is it the IMAX poster that has 4 of him?
No way.
In different, like, so over on the one over here, the little Tenet, it's that, but it's bigger. And it's not even having him faced in 2 different ways. It's one up top, one up here, one over here, one over there, and one over there.
Yeah.
Like, there's 4 of them. And Tenet's like slightly skewed. I think it's the poster that I used. Go look at my did I post that? On my Instagram. I posted the IMAX one. I think that has 4 different ones of him.
Yeah.
And if we're thinking about it, there is a scene where there's 3 of him.
Yeah.
So
it's
yes.
Yeah. I would say that this movie is one that is like I started this whole review, it moves so fast for a 2.5 hour movie. And you have to be paying attention. There's no pee breaks. There's no nothing. You have to be
exactly.
No pee breaks.
Honed in. And it's because they tell like kind of the movie twice in some spots. Just one way going in one direction and one way the other. And they have to explain so much. It's incredible that we got so much explanation that made some sort of sense. And that was you could follow it and you cared about it, and that there was emotional stakes in the game.
Right.
That's 2 huge things in this movie that they had to nail, along with all the other, I would guess more kind of filmmaking stuff, like how incredibly cool it looks and the sound design and the score, but also just saying, hey, we actually care about these characters and we have to explain this brand new concept to most people and have it make some sense. And by the 1:30 mark, you have to understand it and be ready to roll. And they do a great job of that. I think that was probably like when Nolan was probably like writing it out, he's probably like, all right, at 1:15, 1:30, we gotta go start going backwards. And we have to nail it. We have to, at that point, like a goal was just to say, hey, at that point, people have to understand enough to be able to do that. Because if they did it earlier in the movie, we'd be like, what the heck is happening?
Big facts. Big facts. Yeah, it felt earned when we got to that point when he first goes inverted. It's like, okay, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to learn how things work. And then you actually do. Like, you learn more by watching what happens.
A lot of visual
listening.
cues. Yes.
You're talking about how we get explanations a lot of the reviews I've seen that like hate on it are saying we don't get an explanation of what's going on, and they're the same damn people who get mad when someone gives them an explanation, and they completely miss the whole. Like, do they explain exactly scientifically how the inversion process works? Right. No. Why is that even important? Honestly, it's not. Then you'd have a 15-minute scene of dialogue trying to explain the science and the physics.
Right.
Nobody fracking wants that shit.
Yeah.
They did that in Interstellar, and everyone bitched. So pop off it, you know.
But I will say, they did it, I thought they did a good job of it, and we get those moments with the protagonist where he's like, "What?" And you're like, "Okay, that's us right now. Thank you." So it's not like, "Oh, well, got it."
Yeah.
No, there's those perspective moments where we are him, like we're following his journey, and it's like, okay, we don't. Those moments, I think, that's what helped me enjoy it more, especially in the first hour and a half.
Yeah, there was nothing that he knew that the audience didn't.
Exactly.
I don't have to know this yet, or like it's okay if that made no sense, or if I can't understand Michael Caine talking.
And I think that was a good choice. That was a really good choice to have the audience learn as the protagonist learns.
Yeah.
And that's not something that we normally get.
Exactly.
Anymore.
No.
I very much, and especially because to a lot of people, this is going to be the first time they ever see John David Washington. Like, David's like, I've never seen anything with him.
Bro,
I want to slap him in the face for it.
You've never seen
Ballers?
Not Ballers. The
Black Klansman?
Yes, Black Klansman.
Yeah, I watched Black Klansman only because I'd watched Ballers for the first 3 or 4 seasons. And he's in Ballers, dude. Him and The Rock are bros in Ballers. He plays Ricky Jarrett. 100% different than the character you see on this movie.
Really?
Oh,
I gotta check it out.
Think of stereotypical wide receiver that has emotional problems and is really erratic in their behavior. That's him.
Totally different. Yeah.
Goes to the Patriots to try and win a Super Bowl, pisses someone off, and I think he gets cut.
Okay.
Like,
Antonio Brown.
Oh, no, he's better than Antonio Brown. He is better than Antonio Brown.
By the way, Kevin has no idea what we're talking about when it comes to football, so I hope he enjoed that.
I know who Antonio Brown is.
He's dead. Probably for not the right reasons. Probably not because he's an unbelievable football player, but
because he's a shitty person. I said it.
Yeah.
I said it.
Anyway.
Yeah, so should everyone go see this movie if they're not going to die?
Yes.
If you're still watching at this point, I'd hope you've already seen the movie.
Yeah, no, seriously, Terry.
Maybe don't see it if you're still watching.
It's a good watch. It's definitely Tenet is one of those movies that you're gonna maybe next 20 years we're gonna still be talking about. Oh, Tenet. Oh, it's gonna be
I think it's gonna be considered a cult classic.
Yeah.
Because it's not for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
The people it's for, they're gonna be like.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's one of those movies where either you hate it or you love it.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't even think that. I think it's either.
People might not get it. People are just gonna be like,
Yeah.
What was? Yeah. What was that?
Like unlike Inception, where they're like, "Oh my God, what's the ending?" And again, I'm that guy. I know what the ending is. On the first watch, I paid attention. I picked apart the scenes. It never wobbles. Not once when they're in the dream world, and it wobbles at the end.
Yeah.
That's enough. There's physics for you. I've been barking up this hill and dying on this mountain.
Hashtag it did not wobble.
For 10 years. So in this movie, it's more of just like, yeah, I know. Everyone's like, oh, I don't understand the ending. I'm like, did you even watch the fucking movie, bro? But for Tenet, it's like I loved it. And when I walked out, I was like, I had this weird mix of, there was a weird center emotion of like, I don't actually think I know how I feel about it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like there's something about it.
And I think that feeling is there, and I think it's designed to be there to pull you back in and see it again.
I want to see it so much again. Yeah.
Same. I'm driving all day Wednesday, but if I drive fast, I might go see it on my way home.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably try to see it again this week. I think I will. Just jealous. For people that are watching this again, I think I'm actually gonna post this part of the spoiler section on YouTube as its own whatever. It's been 30-minute chunk. So anyone wants to see a spoiler, hey, I wasn't tuning in live because I hadn't seen Tenet yet. They can come back and watch this later. And hopefully you're watching this right now on YouTube and enjoyed our spoiler conversation. So, hey.
Maybe.
We're in multiple timelines. Whoa.
Whoa. Speaking of, David, I need you to watch Bill and Ted 3.
Okay.
Because
Hey,
if you don't cry, you have no heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not going to watch it.
I know he's not, Kevin. I bought all 3 movies, and then I watched the third one yesterday and cried so hard.
He's going to be too busy playing Avengers, and then tomorrow, I got stuff to do, man.
I'm not watching it tonight.
Whoa, Kevin. Whoa. When I get home, I'm going to be playing Avengers, boy.
Yeah, bro.
Can't freaking wait.
Hey, Kevin, are you getting the game?
Are you getting the game?
No.
You son of a bitch. Why?
David, you know this. The only video game I play, the only video game I play is Forza.
You are literally my brother, and I hate them. I do not understand. I do not understand the craze with car people that Forza is like this holy text of a video game. I think it's a bad video game.
It's a escape from reality, bro.
It's a bad
In reality, I cannot afford the cars.
That's very fair. That's what I do in GTA. I get the cars that I could never afford. But do you play Need for Speed?
No,
I'm telling you, Thomas, it's these guys that are like cars, everything cars. The realism, blah blah blah. It's not a fun game. Give me Mario Kart all day. Mario Kart. So that ends our spoilers.
Wait, no. David, one thing you got to watch is The Boys, though.
I will. No, I totally will. I'm hyped for that.
I'm looking forward to
it's been
LP episode and listening to what you guys say about it.
Oh my god,
bro!
Ladies and gents, seriously, The Boys
are back in town.
Explosive, David. I feel bad for you because I've dropped so many F-bombs that you have to edit out of the audio podcast. I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna be hitting this.
I just gotta say one thing, and Thomas, I hope you get this. I cannot drink milk the same way ever again. I'm done.
Oh boy!
Every time that pops back up after that 1 second section, you just see it on their face. And it's like you nasty.
They did not need to film that the way they did.
Oh man, it was, and just with okay. My favorite part is, David, get your censor ready. Is I fucking hate you. When he dropped that line, I was like, oh shit, and the reaction from her. Mm-hmm. I'm keeping this as generic as I can for you, David. From her was a non-reaction. I was like, okay. Just, oh man. And I have a feeling that we're going to have so many more people die in season 2.
I bet.
On the super side. I think a lot of supers are going to die in this. Yeah. Just because of how it was framed season 1 and season 2, how they seem to be slightly juxtaposed, but only slightly, but it seems to be that's the move. Also, shout out Giancarlo Esposito, scares the shit out of me in everything he does. I'm so excited for Mandalorian because he kills everything. David, I'm going to spoil something for you. He has some scenes with Homelander, and it's like, Homelander's not winning this. There's no way Homelander wins.
Wow. That scene you're talking about, Thomas, gave me goosebumps. I was like, this is what I needed. I needed that to be said to him.
Yes, and that's because it's Giancarlo Esposito. And that's why he has 2 Emmy noms. One for, they're both for supporting character, I think. No, one's a guest spot.
So I have an update. My PS4 is not turning on because it's kind of broken. So if it doesn't turn on tonight, I will probably watch The Boys.
How are we going to watch The Boys? We have done it. You have done well, Sony PlayStation 4. You have joined the dark side.
So that concludes our Tenet spoiler movie review. What an episode this has been. Do we have anything to plug or anything like that? Thomas, can you say what you're up to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Texas right now. I picked up a couple things down in a little land called Texas. If anyone gets that reference, I love you. And I'm filming a movie right now. It's my first feature that I'm in. I'm a small supporting. Is it a guest spot, a cameo? I don't remember how it's officially labeled, but it's a small time of screen time, and it's pretty fun. Let's just say I was covered in fake blood all day, and it was pretty damn fun.
Can't wait to see it. Let's get where everyone is on social media. Kevin, you start.
I am at, what is my name on Instagram? I think it's Kevin B645, or if not Kevin B645, Kev B645.
Find you there.
It's one of those two, yes.
Yeah, it's one of those two.
Sounds good. It's in the show notes, or it's in like the description of this video.
Nice.
It is.
Yeah. You can follow me friend me on Facebook. My name, David Thompson, David J. Thompson, TikTok and Instagram, and David Thompson with 2 A's on Twitter. Thomas, not my co-host today. A special guest for the Tenet review today, and from Texas. Where can we find you?
You can find me in Texas right now. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me on Facebook, Thomas Carter Rochester -actor, on Instagram at Thomas Carter Rochester, all one word, no hyphens, no spaces, at Thor Son of Dale on TikTok, RIP. I thought about bringing TikTok back because I got bored a couple days ago, but that didn't happen.
Yeah,
I filmed a review for Tenet, and it's going to be on our YouTube page. That's what I have to promote. You're welcome, David. I remembered.
Tomorrow, look out for Tenet or Thomas's separate. It wasn't. He didn't.
Spoiler-free review.
Yes.
At TC Rochester Act, that's TC Rochester ACT on the Twitter, and of course, Life of Thor. You know what? I'm gonna put myself on the hot seat, and I'm just gonna say this Thursday. I don't know what day we're on anymore. This upcoming Thursday is gonna be Thor watches The Mandalorian Season 1, Episode 1 live. I'm toying with the idea of doing Season 2 live, and I'm hoping I can keep the same shtick going on, but we'll see what happens. So this is a test run. Also, it is exactly 8 weeks before The Mandalorian starts, so it's just a chef's kiss of timely perfection.
Yes, can't wait to check that out.
Yes, and don't know. You have the show notes. You're running this. You're running this ship today.
I'm running this show today, and that's why it's been so all over the place. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. We didn't really get to read many comments today. I'm really bad at that. Thomas is fantastic at reading the comments, but it's not because I do. It's because I love you, and I just want to do a good show. So anyway, we will be back with the show next weekend. Just check out we'll be posting clips, all week from this show and other stuff Thursday, along with Mandalorian Watches Live. Check out, we're going to post a throwback pretty much every Thursday of a clip from a previous Let's Interaction episode, an interview, an old episode. Stay tuned for that. Follow us, Let's Interaction, pretty much everywhere. LTA Podcasting on Twitter, but Let's Interaction, Instagram, Let's Interaction on YouTube, obviously here on Facebook. Thank you all for joining us. And Kevin, thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank both of you, Thomas and David, for allowing me to come into your home and be a part of it. Thank you.
You will certainly be back.
Yes, and I actually really appreciate you coming on, Kevin, because I was like, David, you're on your own, bro. And he's like, yeah, and he's like, what do you think about Kevin? And I'm like, hell yes.
You see, David needs someone to be here with him. I'll tell you why. Because once he starts talking, he's not going to stop. You need someone to interrupt him a little bit.
I know, I totally do.
Yes. Where is it? I got a great comment here just based off that alone. Oh, yeah. There it is. That was from earlier in the show, but we'll officially wrap this up. Thank you all for joining us on this special weird episode. 23? Are we on 23?
Episode 23.
Episode Michael Jordan of Lights, Thunder, Action. Thank you, everybody.